which is on page 876. 876. Now I'll tell you a very interesting concept over here, which is really it's a, what does that do?
Backup recorder, just in case this doesn't record.
What backs up the backup recorder? Just in case neither of them work. I mean, it is a Jewish organization, you never know. Okay. It's a life concept. It's a very interesting life concept. So Torah says like this. All right, you had this issue with the Midianite girls and the Moabite girls, and the Torah then says like this: Veidaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. 4 lines from the bottom in 876. Soror es hamidyanim. Soror es hamidyanim. I think he translates harass them. Is that how he translates? Harass. Oh, I love that word. It torment the Midianites. V'hikisem osam, and you shall smite them. Now it doesn't say they're not going to go to war now. The war is going to come only later. But Hashem is saying to the Jewish people, this is what you're going to do to the Midianites. You're going to harass them. You're going to torment them. We'll see what that means in a second. Kitzorim heim lachem benichlem asher niklu lachem al dvar peor v'al dvar kozbi bas nasi Midian achosam hamuka b'yom ha'magefa v'al dvar peor. Because they tormented you by getting you enticed and worshiping idols and getting involved with the Midianite girls. Now the Midianite girls are taken to task more than the Moabites. The Moabites were got involved out of fear. They got involved. They were there. The Jewish people, the Balak saw the Jewish people getting close to Moab. They weren't close to Midian. The Midianites are taken to task for more because all they're doing is trying to cause the Jewish people to sin. You're coming out of what are you getting involved for, and what are you trying to get us to do averas for? The 876. So the Midianites are the ones who are taking that. The Moabites also, they're no tzaddikim, but at least we understand what your motivation is. You were worried that you were going to get that we were going to stop you. So you came out to defend yourself. Okay. The word soror means, one of the plain meanings is, or one of the opinions is, that you flash your weapons at them in advance to let them know, you're gonna, think about it for a little bit, suffer a little bit. What's that? Taunting them, yeah, harassing them, yeah. That's one of the explanations the commentaries give. But there's another idea over here, is that when Jews fought wars, listen very carefully what I'm telling you, because this is a life principle. When Jews fought wars, so they would, if they were attacking the enemy, they would, in the old days, you laid siege to a city. You poisoned the water supply. You shot in catapults. You shot arrows over the walls. You laid siege to a city. Sometimes they would surround. The Jews, when they went to a war, they would not lay siege on 4 sides. They would leave one flank open. Now there are different explanations. In this war, they're going to surround them completely. That's what sorerim is. Now there are 2 explanations for why they would leave a flank open. One is that it's in your own benefit to leave the flank open, because it takes the fight out of the people who are inside. If you know psychologically, if I really want to, I could run away. It takes some of the fight out of you. But if you surround somebody on 4 sides, then they're going to fight to the death. They got nothing to lose. Listen, we got nowhere to go, so we're going to. It puts more fight in them. The second explanation is that even when we fight wars, even when Jews fight wars, we fight wars with compassion, which is what the world expects from us today, which is why Israel has got limitations that nobody else would possibly have. When they fight wars, you have to you have to drop leaflets from the sky. By the way, we're going to be bombing you, right? So if it's really not, we hate to inconvenience you, but if you could please leave. So nobody else does that. I don't see Russia sending leaflets to the Ukraine, and I don't see the Ukraine sending leaflets back to Lord. Here, you return to sender. I don't see any leaflets going back and forth over there. All of a sudden, Israel has to go door to door, knocking on doors to make sure. Excuse me, any terrorists over here? Okay, we're sorry. Sorry to bother you. That's it. So there is a bit of a precedent because you gave them a chance. You fought a war with compassion. But the Torah is teaching a principle in life. when you're dealing with people, don't surround them on four sides. Don't trap people. Don't do it to kids. Don't do it to people that you're trying to influence. Don't do it to your spouse. Always leave people a route of escape. If you ever have an intellectual debate with somebody, so let's say you try and talk to somebody about Yiddishkeit. This happens all the time. And you absolutely bury that. You're trying to make a car of somebody. You're trying to draw somebody near to interest them in Yiddishkeit. And so you have a discussion with the guy, and you absolutely bury him because of some of the ridiculous things that he's saying. So what just happened? He walks away from you. Sure, you won the battle. You destroyed the guy. But he just walks away from you feeling, you know what, that was a very unpleasant experience with a religious Jew. So why should I get involved in any of this? Because people are not, as Rabbi Schuller used, people are not logical. People are psychological. So you destroyed me logically, but at the end of the day, you destroyed me. So I'm not interested. Always leave people the expression in English is let them save face. Let a person save face. Let a person walk away with his dignity intact. When you're dealing with kids, and certainly in the religious world, people, all parents, when a child is born, we want that child to be a whole lot better than we are. That's for sure. We want the kid, we want him to be good, we want him to be good, we want him to be a good Jew and everything else. You have to know you got to let kids breathe. You got to let kids breathe. If you try, a lot of kids who struggle with Yiddishkeit today, it's because the parents just surrounded them on four sides. They have no outlet. Eventually, you just break loose, either in school or with the parents or anything else. And it has to do with the relationship also. If you're holding people to too exacting a standard, often there's going to be a backlash. The Torah is teaching you, don't surround them on four sides. Don't trap people. And sodarim, to surround them on four sides is called harassing. It's called tormenting. And parents have to know that when it comes to dealing with kids, there are three zones. There's the green zone, there's the red zone, and there's the gray zone. When you're dealing with, there's the ozone also, right? But the ozone layer is problematic. But when you're dealing with your own kids, there's a green zone, there's a red zone, and there's a gray zone. The green zone is that these are things that are purposely okay. Purposely, yes, you could play Monopoly. Yes, you could do, you could go for a walk, you could go play baseball with your friends. That's all acceptable. There's the red zone is no, you may not go bungee jumping. No, you may not engage in alligator wrestling. No, you may not do those, you may not get involved in substance abuse. There's a red zone. Then there's a gray zone, which are the things that I prefer you didn't do. But as a parent, you're going to have to give in so that your kid doesn't come back one day and say to you, you never let us do anything. And you can say, yes, I did. Remember you wanted to get those, what do you call it, that whatever it is that he wanted to get, which you weren't thrilled about. It could have been an electric bicycle, which then, by the way, I'm not, I wanted to get an electric bicycle or whatever. And I thought, listen, I'm not that thrilled about it, but I'll let you have it. That way the kid, when he wants something else, which is in the red zone, and you have to say no, this is the time where you have to say no. This is where a guy just asked me recently, his kid wants to vape. He wants to vape. This is an issue today because the vaping is, we know it's available. So I said to the father, look, you have two choices. You're going to say no. He's going to do it anyway with his friends. So what you tell the kid is, listen, I'm not for it, and it's not a good idea. If you're going to do it, I'll let you do it once a week at home under my supervision. So I know even then the kid's going to do it when you're not watching. So it doesn't make it, you have to know when to save, sometimes you just got to save your bullets. You can save them for when it's really non-negotiable. And if you just wrap it too tight, so that what happens is people are suffocated. That's what the Torah is teaching you here. Okay. Now, go to Pasuk Yud Aleph. Skip ahead. Okay. They're going to take account of the Jewish people on page 878. And the Torah then starts going through the names of the various family members. Why are we taking account? Because the people at this point, you remember there was a decree they're all going to die in the desert. When was that decree, gentlemen? When was the decree unleashed that they're going to die in the desert? After the spies, right? 40 years in the desert, they're all dying. Now we're on the verge of going into Eretz Yisrael, and now that all those who were in the desert have died, now we're counting whoever remained. And the Torah goes through the entire genealogy of the Jewish people. But there are a few things over here that we want to, that you see the subtlety of Torah. So for example, take a look on page 878. So it goes through the family of Ruvain. And then pick it up on 878, 8 lines from the bottom. 878, 8 lines from the bottom. So it says like this. Uvenei Eliav, the sons of Eliav, this is a family in Ruvain. Nemuel v'Dasan v'Aviram. What's that?
And they get swallowed.
Who Dasan v'Aviram? They are the very Dasan v'Aviram. Yeah, no, it's going through the family genealogy before telling us. Kruyei ha'eda asher hitzu al Moshe v'Aaron ba'adas Korach batzosam al Hashem. These is Dasan and Aviram who were the provokers. They started the fight. Vatiftach ha'aretz etzpia vativla osam ve'es Korach b'mosa eda. They were swallowed up with Korach. Ba'achol ha'esh les chamishim asayim ish vayu lenes. They were swallowed up, and they with the 250 people who got burnt. Vayihu lenes. They became a sign. What are they a sign of? What are they a sign of? See, it says that tells us about Dasan and Aviram, and Dasan and Aviram died. Vayihu lenes. They were a sign. Now, what does the word nes mean, gentlemen? A miracle. What else does a nes mean? We say in the Shemona Esrei every day, "V'sa nes lekabetz guluyosenu." Raise up a banner to gather up our exiles. Right? We want to see that of ultimate sign where Hashem raises the banner. Okay, let's go, everybody. Eretz Yisrael. That's the banner. Why is a banner and why is a miracle the same word? Nes. They're both called a nes. Why are they both the same word?
It's supposed to be a sign for people that God is...
Something that you see. There's a miracle is something that you see. This is something. Okay. So Dasan and Aviram get swallowed up. That's a nes. So first of all, the nes is that the earth opened up its earth, but that's not the context over here. The context over here is, and you notice that it puts Dasan and Aviram before Korach, that they were the subtle influence on Korach. They egged him on to get going in the fight. They're the antagonizer, the instigators, and they get swallowed up, and they're a sign. What are they a sign of? Don't make trouble. That's a big sign, by the way. When you know that people get swallowed up, and I told you when they got swallowed up, I tell you the earth opened up like the Slurpee, the big gulp. Ever hear the big gulp? And not only that, the Medrash says, we were talking about how they got swallowed up. It made, remember the sound it made? No, that was the sound it made. And when you're seeing people get swallowed up in the earth with that sound, that leaves an impression on you. And not only that, the Medrash said they got swallowed up slowly. It wasn't like an earthquake, they just fell in. It was like, kind of just disappeared a little bit at a time. Like, and they're yelling the whole time, and then down they go. And then they're gone. So the Medrash said, that's a sign. Then it says, Ubnei Korach lo mesu. Korach's descendants, his children didn't die. Now listen to this. What happened to the Korach's children? They were on the 7th level of Gehenna. You know what the 7th level of Gehenna means? Don't they talk about their first degree burns, second degree burns, third degree burns? Which is the worst? How does it work by burns? First is the worst burn?
First is the worst.
First is the worst. Yeah. First is the worst, especially if the White Sox aren't first. Then first is for sure the worst. I think third is the worst? It's either first or third. So what do you call it? It's one or the other for sure. So it can't be the second. Second, definitely not. So the whatever it is, there are different levels of burn. In Gehenna, there are different levels of burn. They're on the 7th level of Gehenna. On the 7th level of Gehenna, they wanted to sing Shira, praise God, and they couldn't sing because it was too hot. That's what the Medrash says. How do you like that? Let's sing, fella. Sometimes you're stuck in hot traffic. Imagine you're stuck in a traffic jam. Your air conditioner in the car is not working, and somebody in the car says, "Hey, let's sing." Let's sing. I'll push you right into traffic. Let's sing. Who wants to sing? They wanted to sing it as a form of tshuva, and they couldn't. But because they wanted to, that got them out of Gehenna. That's why it says, Uvenei Korach lo mesa, they didn't die. They were down in Gehenna, they were on a platform in Gehenna, whatever it means. And they wanted to sing and they couldn't sing. It's an amazing thing. I'll get to you one second. They wanted to sing and they couldn't sing. So one of the commentaries says, let me ask you a question. If parents also have certain traits that pass on to their kids, which traits do you think it's easier, I don't know, call it statistically, or just the fact is, what do kids pick up quicker from parents? The good things or the bad things? Huh? I mean, think about yourselves. Yeah, what do kids pick up? What do kids pick up from parents faster, the good or the bad? The good, we assume they're seeing the good also. The bad, for sure, they see. The bad, for sure, they see. If they notice it. Of all the bad traits, if a father is a quarrelsome individual, he's the guy who's always fighting with the gabbai in shul, and he's always the guy who's with the neighbors. He's just a quarrelsome individual. The kids are going to be quarrelsome individuals. So one of the commentaries says, tongue in cheek, he says, "Vayu lenes ubenei Korach lo mesu." You know what the miracle is? The miracle is that Korach's sons managed to do tshuva. They didn't follow in that they didn't become quarrelsome like their father Korach. That's a nace. That takes a lot to get kids. Because whatever the parents are, that's what the kids are. Kids are imitators. Kids are very big imitators. It turns out they do see the good things also. It's more subtle. It takes longer. The bad things they pick up, you see the bad things because you don't want to see it in your kid. It's bad enough when you look in the mirror, but then when you see it in the kid, it really hurts. Where'd the kid get that? Where'd the kid get that from? If I saw my sons playing a board game and one of them is cheating the other one. It's kind of like I thought I got past that. Now it passed on to the next generation. So a little bit I'm proud, because at least he's going to win. But you don't want to see that. You don't want to. What you are, and you don't want to see that in your kid. That's a big miracle. Number one. Number two, and this one is particularly. Ubenei Korach lo mesu. A disciple is called a child. Talmidim are called bonim. Talmidim, you know that the Gemara says you're bonim, but the disciples of a rabbi are called his children. They're his spiritual children. Ubenei Korach, the disciples of Korach lo mesu. There are always Korachs in every community. He's the guy. Korach has disciples throughout history. In every shul, you're going to have a couple of Korachs. There's always that guy who's figure. So what does a rabbi do all day anyway? There's always one of those. And what do they do with the money? We all pay money. What do they do? A bunch of ganuvim, right? There's always one or two of those sprinkled around. You get them in a communal, in a building. Everybody decides they want to do one thing in the building. They have, let's build a fence around the yard. Now, what do we need a fence for? And the only reason he's saying it because it wasn't his idea. No matter what everybody's going left, he's going right. They're going right, he's going left. Those are Korachs. Ubenei Korach lo mesu. They didn't die. They're still around. There's always Korachs around. By the way, I think that a lot of us, we have a little bit of Korach in ourselves. Sometimes, to a certain degree or other, we have Korachs in our. Yeah, go ahead.
The song to Helen, or the Yud today.
You're right. Ubenei Korach.
That is the song we were trying to sing in Gehenna, or is that something they repented for on earth?
I don't know. I think it says that that's what they were singing in Gehenna, because they were singing and then there's a tradition. How Tehillim developed, that you see, they came down from Avram Avinu, and from it passed down till Dovid HaMelech got a hold of it. Right. So and then eventually got to Dovid HaMelech, who compiled the whole thing. But it's I'm under the impression that it was in Gehenna. When you sing in Gehenna, it probably it probably lasts for a while. Now,
in this verse, isn't it? Don't the disciples of Korach literally get swallowed up? But
the literal, yes, for sure. But just as a Torah, there are many different layers of Torah.
literal descendants actually.
You're right. His sons. It said Uvenei Korach lo mesa. They didn't die. His children. They didn't die because they did tshuva. That's the plain meaning. They did tshuva. You could always do tshuva. You could do tshuva to the last moment.
But
They did tshuva in Gehenna. What's that?
They don't die like they're on earth living, or they don't die like they're not Gehenna dying.
That's no. They're on earth living. They continue living. Yeah. Then they continue living. It's a very esoteric thing because Gehenna is not a physical place. What it means they got to the seventh layer of Gehenna. But I've had a little. It's not 100% clear to me exactly what that means. Whatever it is, that's what the Medrash says. They got to the seventh level of Gehenna. There was a platform they were on. There was on a platform in Gehenna, and eventually they got out because they did tshuva. Okay, now I just want to show you a couple of things about names because the Torah is going to go through a bunch of names, and when you read Torah, you have to know that the Torah, every word of Torah, this is the word of Hashem. And so if they put it in the Torah, it was there for a reason. And even if we don't know the reason, there are going to be layers of meaning over here. Now, I'll just give you a couple of examples. They're very interesting. Take a look at Pasuk 16. I'll just show you what's in a name. And then we'll show you the knockout punch. On page 880. So, first of all, it tells us that this is the family of Gad. Okay, and 4 lines from the top, it says le'ozni mishpachas ha'ozni, le'eri mishpachas ha'eri, and it's going to go through the various families, and then it tells you how many of them there are. Now, take a look at Rashi, where Rashi says le'ozni. It's the on page 880, right column of Rashi, top, right column, top line. Everybody find it. If you find it, show the person next to you. Top column of Rashi. Okay, it says la'ozni. Says Rashi, Omer anisha zemishpachas etzbon. This is really, Ozni is really the family called Etzbon. Ve'eni yodea lama lo nikres mishpachto al shema. I don't know why, Rashi says, I don't know why it didn't call him by the regular name. Why it called, the Etzbon family is really called Ozni. That's what Rashi says. So one of the classic commentaries, the Shlah HaKadosh, the Shlah says, what is the word Etzbon? You know Hebrew, right? What does Etzbon sound, what does Ozni sound like? Ozen, an ear. What does Etzbon sound like? A finger. What's a finger and an ear got to do with each other? Correct. What does the Gemara say? What do you do if somebody's going to speak Lashon Hara? What are you supposed to do? There are 2 options. Option 1 is to take your earlobes and go like this. Right? Option 2, you got to have, depending on what kind of lobes you got. If they're, depends how bendable, if they can get up there or not. Now, yes, you all have earlobes. Yeah, it's an amazing thing. All you got to do is that everybody in the room just checks. It's like people. It's like people saying, yesterday I called somebody. I know how to. I know what a phone call. I know what a phone is. By the way, last night I was eating supper. Nobody does it with anything else except with a key. Whenever I go, I went to Rabbi Salinger. I said, "Hi, can I get a key to what he goes?" He goes to me, "Yeah, I'll give you a key." But people do this with the phone all the time. So Etzbon, what do you do when somebody's going to talk Lashon Hara? You take, the Gemara says, but it doesn't just say put your fingers in your ear. The Gemara says, why are our fingers shaped like pegs that are wider at the base and they're narrow at the top? Now, some of the fingers aren't really, there isn't that much of a pronounced difference. You know where I notice the difference? Look at a baby's fingers. A baby's fingers almost look like a triangle. A baby at the base is very thick, and it gets very thin. Why? The Gemara says, does it thin out? It's so that if you hear Lashon Hara, you put your fingers in your ears. The etzba in the ear, that's how you block off Lashon Hara. Now, having said that, it's not the first thing you have to do. Hi, by the way, right? That's not the first thing you have to do. Sometimes you could say, there are more subtle ways to do it. People ask all the time, what do I do if I'm in a Shabbos table and people start talking Lashon Hara? So, what we used to do at home, if there were guests, certain people especially, we would just all of a sudden start singing. We just start singing, something completely unconnected to what was going on. Just all of a sudden start singing. But sometimes you could just say to somebody, the easiest way to get out of it, nobody ever objects to you blaming yourself. if you say to somebody that's lashon hara, people get very defensive. That is, it's not. I have to. It's a mitzvah. The easiest, the most efficient way to get out of it is to say, listen, I've been talking about people too much lately. Maybe we'll talk about something else. That way you can't say, I wasn't blaming you. I've been talking about people too much lately. And people are more than willing, true or not true, people are always more than willing to let you be the Russia. They'll always let you be. You want to blame yourself and talk about your own flaws. People are more than happy to let you talk about your own flaws. So I didn't say you're talking Russia. I said, I've been talking about it. By the way, this is always in dealing with secular people. For example, the lady who sticks out her hand to shake your hand, which you're not allowed to shake. Not allowed to shake her hand. The lady sticks out her hand, you're not allowed to shake her hand. Unless it's your wife, or your bubby, or your sister, or your daughter, you're not allowed to shake her hand. So what do you do? A lady sticks out her hand, what do you do? I say, listen, you make a joke out. You say, listen, I'm a bit of a religious fanatic. I don't shake hands with women. So if you make yourself look bad, so then what do you call it? I think the chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Yisrael Meir Lau, was once at a Holocaust memorial where Ronald Reagan was there and Nancy Reagan was there. And this is on national television. And Ronald Reagan stuck out his hand and he shook his hand. And then Nancy Reagan stuck out her hand. Now this is the First Lady of the United States. Now he's got a problem here, because you can't not shake her hand and you can't shake her hand. Now what does he do? So she stuck out her hand and Rabbi Lau, they were standing on the stage. So she stuck out her hand and Rabbi Lau said, as soon as her hand came out, he said, to the First Lady of the United States, I bow. Like that. That's how he got out of it. So it's there was a group of guys from a yeshiva that went to they were one of these yeshivas for struggling youth, from kids who were struggling, and they're on their way back. So the yeshiva did a promotion that anybody who I think completed the Masechta, if they finished the Masechta, they made a promotion that they'll take them on a ski trip to Switzerland. So 4 guys finished the Masechta, they went to Switzerland. So they were on one of the slopes, coming down, and they stopped off at one of, there's like a little, a cab bar or something. They went in for a drink. They're sitting at the table, and these guys, and this couple sits down with them, a non-Jewish couple. The husband was French and the wife was German. And they sit down with these Jewish kids, and they start schmoozing with them, and then they get up to leave. So the husband sticks out his hand. The guy, one of the bachers, he shakes the husband's hand. The wife sticks out her hand, and the boy won't shake her hand. She says, "Why won't you shake my hand?" He says, "It's according to our religion, it's forbidden." She goes, "Why is that?" He goes, "Well, because number one, if you shake hands with women, if you start making physical contact, it can lead to other things. And number two, if you don't shake hands with other women, it'll give you more appreciation for your own wife." So she turns to her husband, smacks him across the face as hard as she could. She says, "Jacques, you should be more like the Jews." I like that. So that's why. Okay, now one second. There's more. Yeah.
What do you say about shaking hands with your grandparents' daughter?
Grandparent, you can shake your grandparents. You can. Yeah. No, your immediate relatives. Once you get it, huh? Ants are problematic. Ants are problematic. Whether big ones, little ones are problematic. The ones that crawl around and the ones that visit, they're all problematic. You can't. There are limitations. There are. Listen, you have to, in each individual situation, you'd have to ask a posek. There are certain times for Bali Tshuva, especially, where you can remain passive. If they come to hug you, so you don't have to resist, but you don't have to just. There are each person has to ask. There are different poskim have different approaches. However, you should know that by the letter of the law, it's problematic. Then there are certain leniencies within situations. The one thing you shouldn't do is make up excuses, because excuses backfire. For example, you shake, well, I have a cold right now. Yeah. What about next week? Eventually they'll call you. Some people have always felt that if you go to a family meeting with these huggy aunts and uncles, that sort of thing. So they say walk around with 2 cups of water the entire evening. Nobody's going to shake your hand if you walk around. That's what happens when you put down the cup of water. That's ridiculous. Or walk around with keys in your hand. As soon as the hands say drop your keys, so you bend down, so they'll put the gun back in the holster. That doesn't. Our best policy is to be honest. Just be honest. Say, listen. As my religion, they respect everybody else's beliefs. If you were a vegetarian, they wouldn't have any problem with you not eating meat. But if you keep kosher, then you're a religious fanatic. But if you would say I don't touch other people. I'm germ. What's it called? I'm very germ conscious. Ooh, he's germ conscious. Okay, so we're spiritually germ conscious. What's the difference?
But there's people that like my aunt, so I grew up in the same house as them. They probably changed my diaper when I was born. Now I should say, I'm too religious to.
They can't change your diaper anymore. No, that'll be a problem. But the what do you call it? You have to speak to an individual. You have to speak to a posek who knows you and knows your personal situation. I'm not gonna. I don't want to talk about. There's a different range of halacha. Some very severe. Some there are leniencies. It's a tricky subject. All I'm telling you is whatever you do, don't make up a story. If people invite you for Shabbos and you're not sure about the kashrus and you really don't want to go, say, "Oh, I can't. I actually have a cold. I'm not feeling well. What about next week?" They said, "You just shot yourself in the foot." Just make it clear from the outset that there's a certain standard. And if people have a trouble with it, listen. If they have a problem, they have a problem. There are a lot of things that people have problems. We got to live our life the way we have to live our life. Please, you need to go.
So, when the rabbi to a person,
that's not a problem. This is a form. No, that's not. No, that's. But you're allowed to do that. You're allowed about it. So that sort of thing. That's not idol worship. That sort of thing. You're not. That's not a problem. You just out of respect, you're curtsing. If they're wearing a cross, it's a problem. If they that came up. That's why Mordechai would not bow to Haman. Mordechai wouldn't bow to Haman because Haman had a cross on. If he's wearing if he's wearing an idol, if you were greeting a priest, and the priest has a cross, that's problematic.
Nancy probably had a cross somewhere underneath.
What's that?
Nancy probably had.
If he didn't see it, that's maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. Nancy was busy worrying about aliens on foreign so it wasn't. I don't know if she had a cross or not. But at the end of the day, that would have been more problematic. That would have been more problematic. I was once at Case Western in Cleveland years ago. I spoke to a group of kids there. So they're walking me to the door afterwards. And there was a guy and a girl. So we get to the door, and the guy sticks out his hand, and I shook his hand. And then the girl sticks out her hand, and I said, "I'm sorry, I don't shake hands with women." And the guy looks at me, and goes, "You don't shake hands with women? Cool!" Just like that. I had no idea what was cool about it. I don't know nowadays what's considered cool. But the reaction completely not what I was expecting. The thing. I just remember he goes, "You don't shake hands with women." I thought, okay, here we go. Cool. Just like that. I have no idea why. Okay, now I want to show you. There are a couple more things I want to show you here. Take a look at. Where is this? Yeah, Pasuk 26:24. B'nai Yisachar. This is right in the middle of the page, on page 880. B'nai Yisachar lemishbechosam. The family of Yisachar. Tola mishpachas hatoloi. Lefuva mishpachas hapuni. Those are the names of the family of Yisachar. Now, take a look at that word Yisachar. What is Yisachar? On page 880. Page 880, Pasuk Chav Gimel, right in the middle of the page. What is the name Yisachar? Just look at the name Yisachar. What is the name Yisachar? If you take a look, break it up into two. Put a line between the two shins. What do you get? Yesh Sachar. You get reward. Now, What was the tribe of Yisachar? What was their involvement? Their involvement was Torah. They were the tribe that learned Torah. Zvulun were the merchants. They supported them. Yisachar learned Torah. So we say every morning, Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. Where is the biggest mitzvah that a person could do is learning Torah. Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. Yisachar Yesh Sachar. Where is the most reward? The most reward is what you're doing right now. You're learning Torah. That's the biggest mitzvah a person could do. Number one. Number two, the Gemara says there are 310 worlds waiting. You ever hear that idea? That in the world to come, there are 310 worlds that a person gets. Reminds me of that the Game Boy. My kids used to play with the Game Boy. So there was one of the what do you call it? Was Mario. You ever hear of Mario, the Game Boy? Mario. Is a Mario against? I just remember one of them was called Mario Worlds. Like there were 15 worlds on Mario. I never liked it because I wasn't good at it. I got dizzy from it. And then one time I was messing around with it, and I got him through. I actually finished the first level. Now I didn't know but I just got him. All of a sudden he goes through a door, and I hear a little like that. And so I quickly called. My son was about 9 years old. I called him. I said, get over here. What did I just do? He just went through the door. What happened? He goes, Daddy, you just finished the first level. I said, what now? He says, there's another level. I said, how many are there? He says, there are 15. I said, my goodness. I said, I haven't got time for this. Then my son looked at me and goes, is that the first time you finished the first level? I couldn't take it. My ego was bruised. My eyes were hurting. Couldn't take it. There are 310 worlds in the world to come. Whatever that means. Shai Olamos. Take a look at the word Yisachar again. Look at the first two letters. Shin Yud is 310. Sachar, the reward is the 310 worlds. That's in Yisachar. Okay, now skip on ahead until Pasuk Lamed Tes. Now watch this. This is the kicker. This is the one I wanted to get to today. Page 882. You have to see this inside, gentlemen. Page 882, and eight lines from the top. Okay. We'll pick it up 5 lines from the top. Sorry, pick it up 5 lines from the top. B'nai Binyamin. We are now in the tribe of Binyamin. Gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts. We're going for a ride. B'nai Binyamin lemishpachosam lebela mishpachas abali lashbel mishpachas ashbeli achim mishpachas. These are various families of Binyamin. And then it says lishfufa mishpachas ashufami lechufa mishpachas achufami. Now, do you see anything? What jumps out at you in that pasuk? L'shfufa mishpachas ashufami, lechufa mishpachas achufami.
So 1 letter difference between the two families?
Okay, what's that? Shufam has an extra pay, but every one of them has a pay. Shufa mishpachas ashufami, lechufa mishpachas. Peter Piper picked the peck of peppers, right? Each one of them has a pay. Right? Now, why is that funny? You couldn't say it that fast. She sells seashells on the seashore. The shufa mishpachas ashufami lechufa mishpachas achufami. The thing that's supposed to jump out at you, even if it didn't, was that it has a pay. Now, what's interesting is like this. Now, stay with me. What does the word pay mean? You know, every letter in the aleph beis means something. An aleph means the general. An aluf is the general, is number 1 on the list. Beis is a house. Gimel is to give to go. What's a pay? A mouth. A pay as well, and it's even shaped like a mouth. If you take a look at it with any imagination, there's a pay. You know, you got a little mouth going into the. It looks like a face. I mean, not my face, but it looks like a face, and it's going in. Right? You take 2 pays and you put them together and do like this. Next thing you know, you remember there's got to be something to it, right? How do you do it? How do you do the bloods? I was very intrigued by that. The what do you call the bloods? There you go. He's got it. I love it. I will have to talk afterwards, Cole. Because I'm with the Crips. So now let's take a look for a second. We're in the tribe of Binyamin. Okay. Now, who is the ancestor of Binyamin directly besides Yaakov? Who's his mother? Rachel. Leah is going to be taken in. There's a switch, correct? Rachel's supposed to marry Yaakov. There's a switch. Yaakov doesn't know about it, and Rachel doesn't say anything. She doesn't talk. Why not? Doesn't want to embarrass her sister. You know, it's be very embarrassing if you're the kala, da 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 da, and then you go to the badek and you go, hey, that ain't the one. Sorry, wrong one. Right? That would be very embarrassing for the girl. Rachel's not willing to embarrass her sister. She doesn't say anything. Rachel has a son, Binyamin. Binyamin knows that Yosef's been sold, but he's been bound to secrecy by his brothers, so he doesn't say anything. Binyamin has a descendant named Shaul, King Shaul. Now, what happened when Shaul got anointed? You remember the story? Shaul went away. He was off with his attendant looking for his father's donkeys. And they got to a certain town where Shmuel Hanavi lived. And he went to the prophet. The prophet could tell you things. So we'll find out from the prophet where the donkeys are. So Shmuel Hanavi says to them, forget about the donkeys. They've already been found. I got different news for you. You're king. And he anoints Shaul as king. That was a good day. That was a good day. You know, you're looking for the donkey and you come home and you're the king. And he anoints Shaul as the king. And then Shaul comes home and his uncle sees him. He says, hey, what's doing? And it says, Al dvar meluchalo, he wouldn't say a word about being anointed. Didn't say anything. I think that if I was anointed king, even less than that, you know, if it wouldn't take much. Just make me the mayor. You know, if I came to if I came home, my wife said, how was Yeshivat today? I say, great, I'm the mayor. Right? I would talk about it right away. And if I was king, certainly she'd hear about it. So after I am the king, right? My husband the king. Okay, yeah, sure. So if I would, you know, Shaul doesn't talk about it. Now, Shaul at a certain point, he's after Dovid HaMelech. He's got a son, Yonasan, who knows where Dovid is and he won't talk. He's got a daughter, Michal, who's married to Dovid, and she helps Dovid escape. She won't talk. And they all come from the tribe of Binyamin. And then there are two more prominent people from the tribe of Binyamin. Mordechai, who won't tell that Esther is Jewish, and Esther, who won't tell that Esther is Jewish. There are 7 very prominent people from the tribe of Binyamin who won't talk. Now count the pays in the pasuk here. There are 7. There are 7 mouths in the pasuk. What's the definition of a mouth, gentlemen? The definition of a mouth is not that you talk. The definition of a mouth is how not to talk. Somebody who can't stop talking is not a mouth. They are a reverse vacuum cleaner that blows all the garbage out all over the place. That's not a mouth. That is a vacuum cleaner that just vomits out anything that they think, first thing that comes to mind. A mouth is the ability, and maybe that's why a pay. I'm just thinking now, maybe that's why a pay is shaped like that a little bit. That it's got like a little bit of a barrier, that it doesn't come flying out. It's got like a little bit of a barrier over here to contain some of it. The definition of a mouth is not that you do talk. The definition of a mouth is how to know how not to talk. Otherwise, it's not a mouth. It's just a volcano. Take a look back for a second in Parashat Tetzaveh. Take a look for a second in Parashat Tetzaveh. On page 468. On page 468, it goes through the various stones of the chest plate of the Kohen Gadol. Now take a look. Pick it up in Pasuk Yud Ches. It's 10 lines from the top. Tur Odem Pitada Uvarekes, a row of Odem. These are the various names of the gemstones. Hatur Echad, that's one row. Ve'atur Hasheni Nofech Sapir V'Yahalom. Ve'atur Hashlishi Leshem Shebo Ve'Achlama. Ve'atur Haravi Tarshish V'Shoham V'Yashvei. Those are the names of the gems, each gem corresponding to one of the tribes. There are 12 gems, 12 tribes. The last one, Yashvei, corresponds to the tribe of Binyamin. And if you take a look at that word Yoshve, drop the Vav just a connecting, Yoshve. Now, divide that into two words. What do you get? Yesh Peh. It has a mouth. That's the tribe with the mouth. Why is that the tribe with the mouth? Because they know how not to speak. They know, when you know how not to speak, that's the tribe, that's the mouth, the tribe with the mouth. And that's what the Torah is teaching you over here. V'shvufim b'chupim. Where's the puzzle? Shvufa mishpachas shvufami, l'chufa mishpachas achomami. There are 7 pays. It's a tribe with the 7 mouths. And that's the most important thing is the Gemara says the same way it's a mitzvah, the same way that it's a mitzvah to say that which will be listened to, it's a mitzvah to not say that which will not be listened to. So if you're going to tell somebody something and you know that they're not going to listen to you, don't say it. What's the point of saying it? Just say you got it out? So you said it? So you said it. So what? What did you gain by saying, oh, you did? Probably created animosity. And it probably just created animosity. The best thing is to learn. It's one of the most, the biggest, there's a, what do you call it? A guy was a baker. And it was a simple Jew. And somebody once, I forgot how the conversation was, but when somebody once asked him about something, and he said, my father taught me one lesson. When the oven door is shut, no heat gets out. Right? To watch the oven door. That's the lesson. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. Call it 7 mouths. Daniel.